Hello, good Monday morning to all of you. This is Sunana Vora, Youth and Family Life Coach from Athena Life Coaching. How are you this Monday morning? Who is here? Who can see me? What's happening? Yes. Can you hear me? What is happening? Oops. Can you hear me? How's everyone doing? How do I see? I want to look at the comments, but now how do I see the comments? How do I see who's here? Please comment hi below so I know that you can see me, you can hear me, what is happening. I'm just, I've changed the way this, I've made it horizontal. So yeah, it makes more sense like this, I think. So, yes. That's better. I'm doing a little bit of adjustment. So, today's topic, let's get started with today's topic. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Sunana Vora. I'm a youth and family life coach. I work with both children and parents. I largely work with preteens starting from the ages of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to teenagers, that is 13 and above. So I work with children, I help them in areas like time management skills, how to focus better, how to improve their confidence, socializing skills, if they've ever been bullied, to overcome that, relationship building, how to achieve their academic and personal goals. So I work with children specifically on those areas, and whatever the children are struggling with, what they bring to the table. So my programs are with children are customized around what it is that the children need. Saying that, I also realized in my journey as a youth and parent coach that parents needed a program that helped them to overcome their sense of overwhelm and chaos in their parenting journey, and be able to have more peace, more calm, allow their intuition to help them in their journey with their children. How to speak to your child, how to develop boundaries, when to say no, and how to listen to them. I actually, in my program for parents, I actually teach you skills on how to listen to stuff that is in between the words, stuff that is not said, but stuff that is important for you to understand and to know about your child, so that you can build those lasting bonds. I was just speaking to my marketing coach, and she said, not everybody understands the personal development journey and how important it is to work on themselves. And yes, I struggle a lot in communicating that to parents, because parents feel that it's always the child who's wrong and it's the child who needs to change, and we're just right, and by our changing, the child is not wrong. But the more I do this work on my clients, the more I work on myself in my own personal journey, the more I work on myself as a parenting coach, I have realized that if the parents work on themselves and become better parents, the impact it has on the family is just amazing. I have seen parents, I'm on the phone so I can't, hold on. Let me just read out the latest testimonial from my client who did the 4-week parent coaching program. This is not a sales a webinar or live. This is just to share with you how it has impacted. Please give me 1 second. So my client wrote to me after finishing the program, going away to meet their family in the UK and coming back. She said, "Hello Sunana, how are you? Blah blah blah. We spent a few days with my sister, whom I have not met for 1 year. She remarked that I seem to have found my zen. She mentioned that I seem to be a lot more calmer with my daughter. I also seem to be able to not sweat over the small stuff No small feat for me. Thank you for helping us embark on this journey. And for all those who are honest, it is a journey. This is not the end of a destination. This is a journey. And really, I invite you to think about how, when you become calmer, when you overcome your overwhelm, when you are able to relax, how do you think your communication will be with your children? How do you think your relationship will be with your children? Different or same? Yeah. So, anyway, that's my take on how to be proactive in empowering yourself as parents. So, moving on to today's topic. Today's topic is what to do when your children shout back. What to do when your children answer back. What do we do as parents when our children don't? I don't think this is about not listening, but this is more about children answering back, and more about children talking back. So, what do you do as parents when your children do that to you? Yeah. So the first thing is, the other day a parent shared with me that just I was just looking if someone had made a comment. So what do we do when our children answer back or get really volatile and angry? And I recently had a client who came in sobbing because her teenager wanted to go out with her friends for an evening do, and they had had an incident in the morning when the teenager was late in waking up to go to school, and then her husband actually drove off and left the teenager behind, and then the teenager was shouting and screaming and literally abusing the father. Then the teenager father came back, sat in the car, went to school, came back, and in the evening started getting ready to go out for a party, and there'd been enough drama, and I don't remember every second of the story, but there was a lot of drama that day, and the mother got so angry that she told the teenager, I'm sorry, you can't go for the party today. You have to stay home. And the teenager just lost her cool, and she was like, absolutely not, I'm going to go. She went up to her room, she got ready, the mother locked all the doors, and the teenager threatened to leave the house from the window. And the mother then grabbed her and from behind and tried to stop her. The teenager kicked the mother. So yes, so I can tell you, this parent came to me in tears and was sobbing and saying, what could I have done differently? What could I have, how could I have prevented this? So the first thing is, what is important to remember is to what extent. So just remember, when it comes to an answering back struggle like this is not just a normal situation where your child is answered back. This is a great situation to talk about, because I'm going to go through the various stages of answering back. Yeah. So yes, your child woke up late and your child wasn't ready, but your husband reacted. So I'm not, please understand, I'm not trying to make judgment. I'm just breaking this up so that you can learn from it on how there are various ways to respond to a situation so that the situation does not escalate to such a height, yeah, to such an extent. So in the morning, yes, your child woke up late. Yes, your child didn't go to school on time. And then your husband drove off. I want to know, before that, do you give your children enough warnings? What do you do in the evening to talk about the situation. Let's assume for the time being, you have spoken many times to your child about being late. Despite all of that, despite you trying to wake her up, she didn't. Maybe your husband could just have driven off instead of coming back, because he came back and things got worse, and the child, answered back even further, and there was even more ill feeling. Yeah. So instead of doing that, what could you have done? My suggestion is, maybe your husband should have just driven to school, let her not go to school that day, and let her be in her room as a consequence of not going to school, without her gadgets, no phone, no computer, and maybe just do some written work, study. I know kids these days, especially teenagers who are in higher classes or need their computer to study, but just let's see. I let her be in a room and maybe get her to write down how she's feeling about not going to school. What does she intend to do differently? If you could have approached it with a, how can we make this situation better, improve it, make it different, versus the whole drama. So there is drama, and I don't blame anybody. Sometimes we are human beings and we get angry, and the father drove off. So I'm not, again, making a judgment here. He drove off, but he came back. That coming back, and then there was to and fro, there was drama, there was ill will, and then that ruined the father's day, the mother's day, the daughter's day, her son's day, because he saw all this and he went. So all four of the family members upset, versus the husband and the son having driven to school, carried on with it, with a minute of feeling bad. If the mother could have kept her calm, the daughter in her room, the only person who would hopefully have some remorse would be the daughter. Yeah, so that could have been one way. I'm sure there are many other ways. I'm just thinking off the top of my head and discussing one way with you guys. Yeah. So that is one way of doing it. She's sitting in a room, she comes out of her room, and then at whatever 3 o'clock when school ends, and she has to pretend to be in a room. That's one way I thought of how they could have reacted. The second way is, of course, she could have taken a taxi and gone to school if she was allowed to do that, which is also not such a bad consequence, but I'm not sure whether there would be any learning or remorse about not getting up late. So I don't particularly like the taxi bit. Now what's happened is the daughter's gone to school, she's come back with an attitude, and she's been grumpy about her father having driven off and actually not grateful. So this has got, the daughter's been in a bad mood. Now the mother, my client who came to see me, said she was just livid because her daughter did not show any remorse, and the mother admitted to me. Okay, so very sweet of the mother, very aware, a very conscious mother, and she's like, I'm not lying, but my ego came into play. If your ego is coming, my ego is coming too. And when the daughter was cribbing, she was like, how dare you? So the daughter comes back at 4. This incident happened at 7:30, and we go back into a loop, and the mother's like, how dare you? First you were late, then this happened, and then you are telling me that your father's at fault, you don't see your fault. And they went into another tirade. Please remember, it's a tug of war. The more you pull from your side, it is human nature to keep myself standing. I'm going to pull from my side. So do you want to create a tug of war situation with your children? So when your daughter was cribbing, my second advice would be to say, is that what you think of the situation? Do you think there was another? Ask her, because I can promise you there is a consciousness inside of her. The consciousness might be asleep, or the consciousness might be covered by your daughter's ego. Your ego came out, so then your daughter's ego was standing. Please understand, ego attracts ego. Today, if I am egotistical in front of you, you will automatically have your barriers up to fight me. Again, it's a tug of war. So if you had for a minute thought of, Listening to your daughter, understanding how she felt, and said, what is another perspective you think of this situation? What else do you think happened this morning? And what else do you think we can do to ensure that this doesn't happen from your father's side and from your side and from my side? So, to try and get a more positive approach, but when your ego comes, you are attracting your child's ego to stand up, and then it's a clash of the titans, clash of the egos. We are no longer communicating as mother and child, mother and son, mother and wife and husband. And you know that with your husband also. When you guys get into an argument, yeah? So what happens? So that was my second advice. My third piece of advice now, after this toing and froing, and my client yelled and said, I know it's a Thursday night and you have to go for a party. Guess what? You're not going for your party. And the daughter apparently said, okay. And then she changed her mind. 10 minutes later, she got dressed and she started to go out. As soon as you saw that, you locked all the doors and you imprisoned her in her own house. It is human nature that I want to break through that prison that you have created for me. So please understand the extremity to which situation. And the reason I'm breaking this up is, before going on to stage 3 and 4, let's stop this at stage 1. So your daughter has changed her mind and is planning to still go for the parties, all dressed up. You are locking the doors. That has made your ego is rising and rising. Your daughter's ego is rising and rising because that's her defense mechanism to cope with your rising ego by making her ego go up. And she is now deciding to jump out of the window to grab a taxi and go to her friend's party. Even if your child has got ready, you can look shocked. You can take a deep breath. So the first thing is the father's driven off. The second thing is the child has come back from school and blamed the father for driving off, and your ego has come up. Now the third thing is your child is now crossing all boundaries and leaving the house to go for a party. Not so much because she wants to go. I can assure you, she is behaving like this because that's her defense mechanism against your rising ego. And fourth step, you actually grab her to physically stop your 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old from leaving the house through a window. And what is she going to do? She's going to protect herself. She's going to defend herself. And how is she going to do that? She's going to hit back. And she ended up bruising her mother's hand because she was pushing back. I know this is a severe situation. And this is not about judging anyone. It could happen to even me. So I don't have any halos around my head around how emotionally unpredictable we are. But the reason I'm doing these lives and the reason I'm trying to help you is for you to understand that these things happen all around us. But unless we move upwards in our journey as a parent and understand what triggers us, what angers us, can you imagine the kind of role modeling you're doing for your child, and then you're questioning? My child answers back. How else will your child behave? Your child's ego is talking to your rising ego, and therefore the answering back comes up. Which is your child. So going back to what can we do as parents? Okay, so every situation is not so severe, but the reason I am talking to you all about this is for you to learn from it, from you to learn the various stages. The first thing is to please stay composed under all circumstances, because so many times your teenagers come to me and say, can you please teach my parents how to manage their emotions because they don't know how to manage their emotions? You have to show you are the adult in the situation. Yes, your child is misbehaving. I'm not doubting that. Yes, Sunana understands your child is misbehaving. How do I improve the child? I improve the child through you, through helping you realize that I might coach your child and make them better. But if you continue to act like a child, then I can't help your child in the long term. But if I help you now and your child answers back, then when I help your child will stay calm. So the journey begins with you, however tough. You need to, so the father needed to stay composed. He could have driven off, but the mother needed to stay composed. When in the evening the daughter was about the father, there was a better way of talking about. When finally the daughters decide to get ready and leaves, how are you reacting? You are exploding and you are grabbing your child and saying, no, you can't leave the house. What role modeling are you doing? What is your child learning? Your child is learning that it's absolutely okay for you to scream and shout, and therefore it becomes okay for her to scream and shout. Because I give parents this example all the time. If you are normalizing smoking in front of your children, why would you be surprised if your child starts smoking tomorrow? Because you have, in households where you eat non-vegetarian food, your child obviously thinks it's normal to eat non-vegetarian food. Try going into a vegetarian house with chicken and eating there. That's not normal. The children will be shocked. Yes, so it's the same thing. If you have made it normal to react explosively, whether it is with your husband or wife, whether it is with your children, whether it is with your helper, whether it is with the gardener, whether it is with a friend, you are telling your child that explosive behavior is normal. So please don't complain to me that your child has an explosive personality if yours is like that, because you are making it just like cigarette smoking normal for your child. The second thing is establish the boundaries. Establish what is the behavior that you expect from your children. And how do you do that? In the evening, when your daughter had come back from school and was still cribbing about the morning, that was the time to talk calmly and to help her introspect and to listen to her. Yeah. And then to enforce consequences about missing the car, missing the bus, is next time if that happens, your dad will definitely drive home and you will need to sit at home and do your work without going to school. So that is the time. Hi Megha, hi Vasanta, I'm very well, just in the middle of this live. So that is that. Let's do the questions at the end of the live, right? So that is the time for you to establish boundaries about the expectation you have from your child. That is the third thing. No, the second thing. The first thing is how are you role modeling it. The second thing is to speak about establishing boundaries. And the third thing is to speak about the consequences. But the fourth thing is to actually go deeper and find out what is it, why is your child answering back? Is your child answering back because he or she is hungry if they're younger? Are they answering back because something's happened in school? Just the way your son is moody, your husband is moody when he comes back from office, and you sometimes know if he tells you, or you sometimes assume that something's happened at work and you stay out of his way. Has something happened in your child's school? Is she feeling left out? Is your child not feeling heard at home by you, that she needs to raise her voice so much? So when children don't feel heard by parents, they either withdraw into a shell and say, they don't understand me anyway, so why bother? Or they shout and scream to be heard because they feel you're not understanding them or their point. So you need to find out, go to the root cause of why is it your child is behaving like that. I teach parents in my coaching program how to understand that behavior is a window into what's going on inside of your child. Behavior is not the territory. So in my 4-week parent coaching program, This is what I teach parents about how to understand their child's behavior. So this parent has enrolled for the program because there have been a number of episodes in which her daughter has behaved badly, but she has admitted to me that she has also, the mother, as a mother, she has lost her cool. So, how are you behaving? Hi, Shani. How are you behaving as a parent? So, like I said, in the younger kids, is your child not eating well? Are they going through something? Has something happened in school with their friends? Something happened with their studying academics? Are they not feeling well? What is going on for your child to really react? And sometimes, like in this girl's case, maybe her friends were putting pressure on her. Maybe it was so important for her to be at that party. Maybe it was the point of belonging to the cool group. But the mother's ego was so big at that point, and this is what the mothers admitted to me. And I'm not passing a judgment, I'm just sharing with you how we need to begin to notice how our ego comes to play. And the mother said, my ego had become so big that the focus became all about how can she be so rude to me? How can she do this to me? How dare she answer back to me? How dare she disrespect me? So the ego is all about me, whereas the camera should have been turned on to daughter. And actually, you should be questioning as a parent, why is my daughter breaking the rules? What is causing her to break all the rules? Is it hunger? Is it something in school? Is it something with a friend? What is this need for her to be at this party so desperately that she is answering back? Your child who's demanding an iPhone from you, for example, and is shouting and screaming. This is what another parent whom I'm coaching currently said. My child, son, 14-year-old son has become rebellious, and he's answering back, and he's saying, oh, I need an iPhone, and you don't get me an iPhone, and you don't understand me, and I need an iPhone. And I was like, maybe there's some dynamics happening in school with his friends where he's feeling left out. Why don't you invite the friends over? So understand your child's answering back. Your child's behavior is a window. So right now, this is my window. Yeah, so if you are standing outside my house looking through my window, you can only see a room that is white, and you will say, oh, Sunana has a white house, but that's not true. You're only getting to see a small part of my home because the window only opens up into this room. When you open the door of this room, there's a bigger house. You don't know what's there, what all is there, what I've kept, what are the colors there. So you are making an incorrect judgment, incorrect decision, incorrect response based on my white room, saying that Sunana has a white room. Oh, hello Tanas. Tanas, where do you live and how old is your child? Do you have a son or daughter? We were talking about a young teenager who was answering back her parents and almost missed school in the morning and then got ready to go for a party. So that was the topic. So another topic that another parent asked me, whom I'm currently coaching, is how his son is demanding an iPhone. And the child is demanding an iPhone, but we need to dig deeper. So the iPhone or going to the party, or I don't know, moody behavior is a window into their behavior. So that window is a window into the behavior, but the behavior is a facade, is a cover up for what is going on inside of your child, Tana. So the best way to do this is to first stay calm and composed. And the second thing is for you to be able to enlighten your child around what happened that day. But if you are not calm and composed, then to expect that from your child is difficult, because I have a lot of teenagers who come and say that you need to teach emotional management to my parents because they get so upset or they get so angry or they're so emotional over little things. So please stay calm and composed and ask your child how else they could have behaved in that particular situation. Like in this situation, the child was jumping out of the window. And thirdly, enforce what you are saying, the consequences. So the next time you get late, what do you think we should do? Especially with teenagers, what do you think should happen? And I'll listen to our answer, and maybe the teenager says, I'll stay back home, or I'll have to do my schoolwork, or I walk to school, whatever is the thing. And the fourth thing is about trying to truly find out what is it living in the rest of her home. What is it that she's feeling? Is there been a problem with her friends? She's feeling left out, that going to the party becomes the end all of everything. Your son's iPhone, why is he demanding the iPhone? Is he feeling left out? Does he think that's a better way of getting more friendly with the boys in his group? If you bother to find that out, if you work hard to find that out, then you will realize there are other problems beneath that facade of answering back that your child has. But honestly, the parents who are truly able to get through to their children are the parents who have overcome their own sense of overwhelm, confusion, have more clarity on how to parent their children, and are empowered parents, which I help parents just like you in my 4-week parent coaching program to understand that when you clear up your own cobwebs, right now I can see beautifully outside this window, everything is clear because my window is clean. But if I had dirt around this window, how would I be able to see outside? And then I would blame the environment and say everything else is dirty and needs cleaning. That's what we're doing with our kids. When we are so full of our own emotional baggage, when we are so full of rage and anger and guilt and resentment and why don't they just listen to me? How dare my child answer me back? When we are so full of these emotions, just waiting to fall off the bench, just waiting to get triggered, how do you expect your child to be calm? Am I right, parents? Any comments? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I making sense? Do you think that for your child to be calm, you need to be calm? Any comments? Have I left you all speechless? Please tell me before hearts, like some response. Is anybody listening? Can you listen to me? Can you hear me? What do you all say about this? Do you think that you need to have more control over your own emotions before you expect that from your children? And your child is watching you. How are you talking to your spouse? How are you talking to your helpers? How are you talking to people outside the home? How are you talking to your work colleagues? How are you talking about them? Don't think that when you smoke, your children are not watching you. And then when they start smoking, you go, you're smoking? It is terrible. So this is the same thing that applies to shouting and screaming back. Yes? Are you... So, given teenagers can be moody and temperamental, how are you managing your teenager's moody and temperament? Are you getting triggered and losing your cool? Please answer me. Or are you all completely calm? So yes, I think those are the key points. Is firstly, you need to stay composed. Secondly, you need to tell them how it is that they need to behave, but you can only communicate to them when they are losing their cool. Yes, so Tanas, when you get triggered, that is important. So when you work on your own triggers and become a calmer and more empowered parent, then yes, sweetheart, I get you. We all do. We all get triggered when it gets too much. But the important part is to understand one thing that I have understood in my journey as a parent, and I'm helping all these parents I'm coaching through the 4-week parent coaching program, is this getting too much. It only gets too much because I have not worked on myself. I'm filling myself with all these little triggers and all these reasons and all this guilt of what a bad parent I am, how angry I get, how dare she or he behave like this. All these things I fill myself, and I'm so overwhelmed with emotion that even when my child goes, "What, mama, you don't understand me," you go, boom. I don't understand you. I have been trying to do this for the last 2 weeks and the last 4 weeks. And that volcanic eruption of when it gets too much. Why? Because you are becoming like a volcano and filling up. So in my 4-week parent coaching program, what I do is help you to let go of all those triggers, to heal yourself completely in the past, in the present, and in the future. I am working on myself all the time. The more work I do on myself, the more benefit it is for my child. Because today, when I make a mistake, and I'm saying that openly, I do make mistakes with my children, but I no longer am in this situation when it gets too much. Because as soon as I make a little mistake, I take 4 corrective actions to that. And I know how to take those corrective actions because my focus is on building a long-term communication bridge with my children and to build a long-term relationship with my children. Because my focus is on that, then I'm able to build it. But I'm only able to build that communication bridge when I have managed and healed and overcome my own triggers. So yes, our children will sometimes say the wrong things, behave in the wrong manner, but it is up to us to not be triggered, and we can only not be triggered by them when we have worked on our own triggers. Our children trigger us in those areas that we have not been able to conquer. Example, let me give you an example. So I'll give you a really deep example. So if my child is I don't have untidy children. So let's take the example of when my children are being untidy. Yeah, and you as a parent are running behind them all the time, trying to tidy up behind them. You can't live with the untidiness. Yeah, you need to build your stamina of tolerance. And therefore the trigger, this is a very deep thing to talk on a live. Actually, I'll just take you all off tangent. So let me just go back to that. This is what I do when I coach parents and adults. It becomes completely a coaching thing. So I'm going to stop back and go back on track on. Hi Amber, thank you for joining us. We were talking today about children answering back. So do listen to the live. And I spoke about a scenario in which a teenager was almost jumping out of the house window to go for a party, but it started in the morning. There was a sequence of events, and I've broken the sequence down, not to pass judgment or to say, but for us to understand that what you might have seen as the last thing wasn't the last thing. There was a sequence of events that led to it, and where as parents we need to keep coming back to our sense of calm and peace and center so that it doesn't escalate to that. So starting from the morning when the father drove off, one of the answers could have been for the father to just wait and then say something about getting ready, or to have driven off and allowed the child to be at home. Then when the child came back home and was bickering and muttering about how she was left behind, and the mother then got triggered, it's important for us as parents to work on our own triggers so that somebody outside of us doesn't trigger us. And we can only do that through self-development, personal development work. And then the third thing is when the child gets ready after all this fiasco and drama to go for the party, the mother holds her and is stopping her from going and shouting and screaming. So you can't be smoking in front of your children and making it no, and then being shocked and surprised that your child is smoking. So it's the same thing with the level of emotional mismanagement that the parents do while behaving with each other. If the parents are shouting back at each other or to other people, your children are picking that up. So it's so important to understand that you need to stay composed. You need to communicate what is the expected behavior of your child, that she needs to get up in the morning. If that doesn't happen, the next time she might not get to go to school. And then figure out what is it that's happening. Dig deeper into what the root cause of the problem is. It's not just about your child answering back. It's about, is your child not being heard? Is your child not being listened to? Is your child hungry? Is your child facing problems in school? That when a child is full of problems in their head and they are overwhelmed, they come to the safest zone to be volcanic, is the home front, and then it can get really disrespectful. So as parents, it is important to create boundaries and to communicate those, but you can only do that when you learn how to be a calm and composed parent. Otherwise, if you are going, your ego is going to come up and your child's ego is going to come up. There's only going to be a clash of the egos and not any positive learning from this. So yes, so that's all from me for today. I hope you guys picked up something about Tanas. Did that help you about how you need to behave when your child is triggered? Do let me know in the comments below. And Tanas, if you want to have a 30-minute free call with me, I can share the link below and you can sign up for a free 30-minute coaching clarity call with me, and I can dig deeper with you on your exact issue. But remember, the 4-week parent coaching program is your solution for all things related to parenting and children. And if you think your children need coaching, I'm here with my youth coaching program. So do remember to sign up for that. Take care. Bye for now.